We are on the picket line for the UCU Strikes today, and we have a lecturer today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Lynette Mitchell. I'm the Professor of Greek History in the Classics Department here.
There's so many strikes going on right now, from nurses, rail strikes. Could you just explain why you are striking in particular?
I'm striking in particular because of the issue of pensions, because of the valuation of the pension and sort of the amount that we've been made to contribute and the lack of benefits that we're getting from it. There are other people here striking also for pay. I'm not here particularly for that reason, but I think the issue of the pensions is a really important one. It's an important part of our pay package, and as it stands at the moment, the pension that we all get just is a bit pitiful, really.
Okay, that was not good, honestly. Why do you think have your demands not been met yet?
To be honest, I really don't understand why not. I mean, because it's about the valuation of the pension scheme, which was valued during the pandemic, at the worst moment in the pandemic, and we were told on that basis that it was in deficit. We now know that it's in surplus. So there is absolutely no reason why we should have to be striking. You know, it's something that should have and could have been easily resolved.
Yeah. And do you think the cost of living crisis going on right now has made this issue more urgent?
Yes, I think it has, and I think too, and that's where the pay comes in. You know, it would be hard to argue that lecturers and professors are paid less than other people, but we still need to have a fair package for the work that we do, and that's just not being listened to. Our real pay has gone down by 25%. Since 2009, and actually I think it's even more than that. I remember being on a picket line back in about 1999 when we were picketing and striking about pay, and nothing has really improved since then.
A lot of students are quite scared because after COVID and the whole disruptions, now they have this disruption. What could you say to students?
What I would like to say to them is just to pick up our leaflets so that they understand why we're doing this. And support us, because that's actually what we really need, is students supporting us so that the university will then listen.
I'm Emma and I'm the Vice President Liberation and Equality at the Guild.
Okay, and do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Hi, I'm Kit Fotheringham.
So you are part of the Students' Guild. Why do you support your lecturers out here today?
Well, I just think that they've had a bad deal for way too long, and as students we should be supporting them because the way they're treated has repercussions on how we're treated. Their working conditions are our learning conditions, and I speak to my lecturers about it all the time, and I know they're at breaking point, and it's been going on way too long, and enough is enough, really.
I'm here supporting colleagues in Exeter today. I have recently moved from Bristol because rents are far too damn high, but I had been working as a part-time teacher just to get through my PhD, and that was casualised work. I had to reapply every year. There was no money coming in over the summer, so I'm lucky to survive. It's not good enough. It's absolutely not good enough. And actually, most undergraduates are taught by people who are barely scraping by. Most of them are postgraduates, most of them doing a PhD, most of them trying to live hand to mouth just to, get through their own studies. And it's not good enough, for those students either. I was fortunate enough in the last year of teaching to actually get into the pension scheme, but then it was cut. So hence why I'm holding this sign today. I'd like my pension back. I've had half my pension stolen, and that will last a lifetime. It's a disgrace.
Okay, thank you. And how do you think students should support this today? What do you think students can do apart from showing up here?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Showing up on the picket line, being present is really great, but obviously it's not accessible to everyone. You can look online. There's so many ways to get involved. Even if you're tweeting, social media support is really important. And this isn't the only time we'll be here. It's an ongoing battle. It's an ongoing fight until we win. So get involved with your student union, with your representatives, join campaigns. And just solidarity can take so many different forms, as well as being present today and on Wednesday the 30th of November as well.
My name is Matthew West. I'm a permanent staff member in research IT here at the University of Exeter and one of the picket supervisors here this morning.
Okay, thank you so much. So there's a lot of strikes going on right now, like nurses, railway, post. Could you explain why you're striking, what your demands are?
So it's the best thing is we have two particular issues that you can see on the various placards. The first one is our pensions were dramatically cut, particularly for new staff, by 30%, 30 to 35% this past year, based on a rather ridiculous evaluation of our pension scheme. Our pensions pot is now does not have any deficits, and that can be fixed rather easily to pull back those cuts. And the other thing, our forfights involves problems with casualization, declining pay due to forever being below inflation, and the extensive workloads that we're given not equal to how we're being paid.
And why do you think your demands haven't been met yet?
Oh, that's asking me to get into the mind of vice chancellors, so somewhat wary of doing that, but part of it is that the university associations are choosing to spend the money how the administration sees fit, and for reasons I don't completely understand myself, they've decided not to spend that on improving the overall sort of benefits and pay of staff. We have trouble oftentimes recruiting both PGRs, new graduate students for the next generation of lecturers, and also staff like myself, and is that they would prefer to spend that tuition dollars and the government funds on their own particular controlled projects. Why? Best to go ask the VC, not me.
And do you think like COVID and the cost of living crisis has made this issue more urgent?
It definitely has made the issue more urgent. People who, rental increases have been happening, it's 8, 10, 15% price of food. Now is that I'm on a permanent contract, but there are many people up and down this picket line that are on casual contracts of 1 or 2 years, people who are being paid £1,000 to £2,000 per course module that they're teaching. That's very, very, very difficult to live on. So is that they may be teaching multiple courses, is that while we do have senior lecturers who are making good money, is that an enormous percentage of staff are barely making ends meet, and this needs to change, so that's why we're out here.
What do you have to say to students who are worried now after COVID disruptions of teaching, now they have those disruptions in teaching?
Well, is that I would first ask students to come down and support us. You've seen up and down here is that our working conditions are students' learning conditions. I completely empathize, given the last few years have been utterly ridiculous, is that best to contact their administration so that we want to be back on the job. We don't want to be out here. It's just that our current situation and the antagonism by administration forces our hand. So is that we completely understand, we believe you're paying too much as it is, but this needs to be done because people need to pay rent, people need to put food on the table, all those sorts of things.
My name's Tom Rowland. I'm a lecturer in physical geography here at the Streatham campus in Exeter.
Okay, thank you. So with a lot of strikes going on right now, can you explain what your demands are?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things that the UCU has balloted for strike action on. So one of the most prominent things is the cuts that have been made to our pensions. So for example, my pension will go down by about 35% when I retire, which is, as I'm sure you can appreciate, a lot of money. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds being lost there. But we're also striking over things like fair pay, fair working conditions. We're striking over things like gender pay gaps between different sort of social demographics. Okay, so members of staff who are part of the BAME community are systematically paid less than white European members of the community here. So there's a whole sort of series of different things that we're balloting over. But ultimately, I think we're also balloting for striking for the future of higher education. We firmly believe that a stressed out, overworked, poorly paid workforce here is not going to deliver the teaching that students like yourself really deserve. So we're balloting, sorry I keep saying balloting, we're striking as well for our students and for the protection of good quality higher education in this country.
Okay, and why do you think those, for example, pension cuts have been made?
Yeah, so it's quite a complicated backstory really, but there was a pension valuation a few years ago made during a particularly poor period economically, and it was decided at the time that essentially the organisation that is in charge of running and issuing the pensions couldn't afford to pay the pensions as they were currently set for the staff. So they made a series of cuts. It's now been shown that there is essentially plenty of money in the bank of this organisation to be able to restore the cuts that have been made to our pensions, but that hasn't actually currently happened yet. So negotiations are sort of ongoing, but they're not very productive. They're nowhere near as productive as they need to be. So we're, I'm sure you can appreciate, understandably, massively concerned that we're going to get to retirement age at 65 or 70 or maybe even 75, whatever it's going to be in the future, and we're just not going to have enough money to comfortably survive on.
Yeah. And because you said they have the money, why do you think the demands haven't been met yet?
Well, that would be a question for your senior management team here at the university. So one of the things that students can do is speak to one another about the strikes, but they can also try and speak to members of the senior management team. That can be directly, or it can be through the Students' Guild who support our strike action, and ask them to get back around the negotiating table to try and put an end to this dispute.
And what message do you have for students who are worried about teaching disruptions right now, especially after COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think none of us in academia really get into this job for the money. We get into this job because we love teaching, we love researching. We care about our students and we want to give them the best possible futures going forward. So when we decide to take strike action, it is absolutely not done lightheartedly. It's absolutely a last resort. And whilst we acknowledge that there is a short-term disruption to the student experience, what we're trying to do is preserve the quality of the education in the longer term. Okay? And the only real tool that we have at our disposal is to cause disruption at this stage in the hope that it will create a better future for staff and therefore for students here at the university. So whilst we acknowledge that the short-term disruption is not ideal, particularly after the trials and tribulations of COVID that we all went through, and I think collectively staff and students did really well through that period, and I'm really proud of all my students that managed to navigate that successfully and still got those great grades. Hopefully the students can still see that what we're trying to do here is improve things for the future in the longer term, so seeing the bigger picture rather than the short-term disruption.
My name's Daniel. I'm part of the Labour Society Committee and I'm here supporting the UCU Strikes. Higher education is so important, not only to the academics here but also to the students, and good teachers, and when they're safe in their work, when they have good pay, when they have good pensions, when they know they can do their job properly and aren't overworked, that is good for students as well, and that makes our learning better. And I think we can, it's really important that they when they feel safe, we do better as well. And so I think it's in the interest of all students to support the UCU and their aims to get better working conditions for their academics. Labour's supporting them. We're writing to the Vice Chancellor, or we're putting out. We're publicising all the strikes, of course. We're publicising why they're striking, very importantly. We did a great event with the UCU a couple of days ago. We co-hosted that. We've got one next week as well. We're writing to the Vice Chancellor saying why the UCU is on strike, why we as students support them, and why it's in their best interest to pay them better. And we're also writing to our striking lecturers and saying we support what you're doing and we hope you get a fair settlement.
How do you think students outside of Labour Society can support the lecturers?
Yeah, as I just said, they can write to their lecturers. It's very important to show them that, because I mean, lots of lecturers taking strike, they are very worried that their students just won't understand, or will be annoyed, or will lose out learning, which is fair enough. But I think it's important for students who do support them.
My name's Ian Cook. I work in the geography department.
So why are you out here striking today?
Oh, this is a long-standing strike, 2018, about pensions and the forfeit, and it's really, really frustrating that we're still out here again, and the university sector still really hasn't addressed these issues that we've been striking for so long about. But what's exciting this time is that every single uni in the UK is out at the same time, so that's a massive, massive new sort of level of strike action, which we're hoping that the whole university sector will respond and negotiate. They can afford to do it. First, apparently, it's all about which VC is going to come out first and make a bold decision, and then VCs in places like Exeter will follow really quickly afterwards. That's the kind of rumour. So we need someone in the UK to break and be an actual true leader and say, this is possible, let's negotiate, we can come to some arrangement. Or this is going to go on and on and on. You guys don't want it, we don't want it, I want to teach, I want to do my research. I am enjoying being part of a samba band, Extinction Rebellion samba band today for a moment, but I'd sooner be up there doing my job and doing what I enjoy, but this is more important at the moment, much more important. We've had a difficult time with COVID, and it's been exactly the same for us. We had to really completely change the way we taught for 2 years to deliver everything online. So we're all absolutely knackered, and sort of like frazzled. And when you get to the point, where we're at the moment, like the massive amounts of overwork just to keep on top of things, you kind of think, well, something's got to change. I'm looking forward to ASOS, which is the action short of the strike, where we work to our contracted hours of 37.5 hours a week. And I'm really looking forward to having a work-life balance. And I think the university sector is thinking that they'll just get through these 3 days and, nothing too bad happened. But I'm just really interested to see how ASOS is going to work, because we haven't really had a national ASOS going on before. And I just think it's really going to bite, and we don't know how it's going to bubble up and how it's going to inconvenience the administration, students, staff, or what have you, because we've never worked so few hours before. 37 hours a week, like normal people. Any VC who thinks, or management think this is just to get through these 3 days, nothing bad happened. This is just like a little message to say that the whole sector is out at the same time, first time ever. Please come and deal with this. You've got the money. Yeah. I've created a web page for students to understand the strike, and in the process of making that, I've understood what's going on a lot better. I just think I can't understand why it's not possible to negotiate at all. So I think what's fascinating for students at the moment, in geography, we teach our students about social change and how it happens. So this is a live example of it right under your nose of what's happening. And I think what's really exciting and interesting for students, if they like this sort of thing, is watching how this plays out. We're all here to try and understand things and make the world a better place, and it's we want to make the university a better place. Why not? For all of us, students, staff alike, everybody.
We reached out to allocators of University Staff Pensions University Superannuation Scheme, who said, quote, "Recent data indicate we could be on track to seeing a more robust funding position, aided by the benefit changes and covenant support measures introduced in April 2022, and significant unexpected changes to the global economic landscape over the past year. Rising interest rates, in particular, have generally had a positive impact on the funding position of defined benefit pension schemes. We're currently setting up early discussions with our stakeholders, both through the Joint Negotiating Committee and a dedicated technical forum, on the potential options available to them through the scheme's next full valuation, due to be held as at 31st of March 2023. If the Trust's in-depth and considered assessment at that valuation finds the overall contribution rate can be reduced, UCU and UUK's representatives on the JNC could choose to change the contributions paid by members and employers, enhance benefits, or both. We are happy to work to the shared goal of an accelerated timetable with an ambition to make any changes decided by the JNC by April 1st, 2024. This would be challenging but achievable if all parties can work together constructively, and we are already in discussions with stakeholders to that end in terms of the commitments that would need to be made in advance." University's superannuation scheme published on the website that, quote, "In the 2020 valuation, we incorporated all the information we had at the time, including the rebound in asset prices post-March 2020 and record low bond yields." The valuation was filed in September 2021, some 18 months after the valuation date. The trustee have considered over that period the impact of post-valuation experience. There have plainly been some significant unexpected changes to the global economic landscape since the turn of the year that have helped to improve the funding position under the monitoring basis, not least the reversal of a decade's worth of decline in real interest rates in the space of just a few months. The changes to benefits and contributions introduced in April were clearly unwelcome, but they have helped to put the scheme on a more stable and affordable footing into the future. Recent indications of an improving funding position are overwhelmingly the result of significant unexpected changes to the global economic landscape since the turn of the year. Asset prices have fallen steeply because of the turmoil on financial markets, but interest rates have been rising at the same time as policymakers look to tackle inflation. That marks a striking contrast to conditions during the 2020 valuation. All else being equal, the two together result in rising long-term expectations for investment returns. In other words, assets we need to buy to fulfill promises to members have become cheaper, which can be helpful when assessing the future service costs and the deficit. The 2023 valuation will allow us to make a robust assessment of the position. A University of Exeter spokesperson said, quote, "As a university, we remain committed to being a great employer and providing everyone who works here with affordable and sustainable pension scheme, as well as fair pay and working conditions, as demonstrated by the recent decision to make positive changes to the pay scales of colleagues on grades B to F across the university." Changes to the national USS pension scheme were implemented in 2022, following the outcome of the 2020 valuation of USS and a long period of consultation with stakeholders. Throughout this period, we have kept colleagues informed of the developments at national level, which were necessary to address long-term funding challenges in the USS scheme. Colleagues were briefed regularly in all staff talks by the Chief Financial Officer, and colleagues had the opportunity to ask questions which are answered at the end of each talk, as well as through our weekly bulletin sent to colleagues. The next triennial valuation of USS will take place in 2023, and engagement between the key stakeholders has already begun. The university has established a Fair Employment for All project to review the way in which we employ our colleagues, and we regularly meet with trade unions to review progress. Over 700 staff previously engaged in fixed-term contracts have been moved to permanent contracts, and our postgraduate research students who previously paid through the e-claim system are now employed on contracts with guaranteed minimum hours. Investment in our colleagues continues to be the university's biggest area of spending, and the University of Exeter is one of over 140 higher education institutions which participate in the annual national pay negotiations. At national level, recognising the current cost of living concerns, higher education employers have agreed to bring forward the 2023-2024 pay negotiations and have offered an interim increase from February 2023, with the balance paid in August 2023. At Exeter specifically, colleagues in our lowest two grades, grade B and C, which are based on the Living Wage Foundation's living wage, have received an increase of over 10%, and most in grades D, E and F benefited from increases applied in November 2022. Around 60% of university colleagues benefited from these changes, which are additional to the August 2022 increase. The Our People strand of our 2030 strategy includes a commitment to address concerns about colleagues' workload. Our new Wellbeing, Inclusion and Culture Committee have introduced a working group which include UCU representation to develop revised principles for academic workload management.